So that was a heartbreaking moment for me in a tree stand just this past October. What you probably can't tell in the video is just how big that deer really is. And he snuck in quietly, came in and bolted when I made the first little sound in the tree stand as I went to draw my bow. So we'll get a little bit more on that a little bit later on, but let's go back in time a little bit and give you a little bit of history behind this deer. So in 2022 was actually the first time I had a picture of him. He showed up on a camera. We run a pile of cameras throughout the summer, and the first picture I got was in fairly early July. And you can, as you can see in the picture, looks like a really good frame deer, split brow tines. Not a deer that I was familiar with, so wasn't sure what he was going to turn into. Fast forward into August and getting more pictures, but now he's damaged his right side antler. So you can see in the pictures his right side antler has got a bend down to it, and so I don't know if he ran into a tree or if he fell or what happened, but sometime between July and August he damaged that antler, which was still okay, still a really big deer even with that damaged antler, but because we were hunting the G2 buck, this deer did not get really any focus in 2022. So fast forward to 2023, it's March, April, I begin combing that area where this buck was living, or at least where I thought he was living, looking for sheds, none to be found. No trail camera pictures of him at all in February, March, April, May. So at this point, you start to wonder, did the deer disappear? Did he die? Did he move to another area? You just don't know. Because any of those things can happen. We get into the summer of 2023, and I start getting pictures of the buck in the same area again. And this time, this year he's really put on some mass, and he's not damaged that antler. That right side is growing perfectly. And I know immediately that this is a deer that I really need to seriously consider. The problem with where I'm getting all the pictures of this deer is very tough to hunt in November. And the reason I say that, if you guys think back and you watched a lot of the videos, you know that we like to set up on cut lines and fence lines and small open areas where deer feel comfortable crossing. Don't like to set up in fields. I'm not a big field hunter. I'm not putting down field hunting. Just for me, that's just not something that I prefer to do. I don't think that it's the best method of hunting big deer. So even though there were some fields in this area, it wasn't for me that really wasn't an option. But because he was showing up fairly regularly, I thought, well, maybe I can bow hunt him in fairly close to where I think he's bedding and a field. So I pick a spot off the edge of an alfalfa field between kind of the field and where I was getting most of my pictures of him, and I go in and I set up. So, funny story. As you can see, I got this nice alfalfa field behind me. This is a spot I've hunted for quite a few years. And I have a trail camera not too far away. Actually got a few trail cameras, but one particular one has a few pictures of a really good whitetail. So, as you can see, there's this awesome trail that goes out into the field. And I'll show you guys why I'm here right now. So I'm still on this trail. And so we got this nice ridge of pine. But you can see that these trails, like there's another one right here, goes up that way.
Comes right down on the bottom here. There's a, there's a bunch of them that kind of intersect right here. You can see that trail, it's just perfect. Anyways, you can see on the ground, I brought a tree stand in. I'm gonna hang the tree stand and I'm gonna try to bow hunt this deer. It's been a long time since I've tried bow hunting a whitetail before November. But the funny part of the story is I come in here with a tree stand. I come in here and the tree that I'm going to hang it in, can you guys see that there? Right up there is a tree stand already. I can't remember when I hung that tree stand up. I'm guessing 2 or 3 years ago. So I guess I'll put this one up as a cameraman stand, but pretty funny that I already have a tree stand here and can't remember exactly when I hung it up. That's when you know you have too many tree stands.
So I get that spot set up. Yeah, the tree stand is already in the tree. Didn't have to put up the other one. I go in there. I make 2 big mock scrapes right around the base of a pine tree with a bunch of branches above. You need those branches above the scrapes for licking branches. I set up a Tacticam Reveal cellular camera, and I put it in there. And I'm thinking I'm going to give it about a week, and if with any kind of luck, I'm going to get some pictures of him. At least he comes through the area, and maybe I can go in and bow hunt this deer. Fast forward to, we're getting down to the last half of October, and we'll pick up the story right there.
October 22nd, welcome to whitetail season. I've been out hunting elk all day today, and normally wouldn't think about hunting whitetail, but it's snowing, and an hour and a half ago I got a picture on one of the cell cams of one of the target bucks I have this year. So it's very small odds that he's going to come back to where he was, but he was right at a mock scrape that I had made 2 weeks ago. So maybe if the snow lets up, he'll be back at that scrape later on today. So I'm gonna go sit the last few hours of the day. Maybe we see him, maybe we don't, but it's gonna be a lot better sitting out there than sitting at home, even though it's cold and I'm not used to the cold yet. But gotta get in there. Well, since I'm in the truck taking this video and it's 5 days later, that means I didn't see or get a shot at the big buck from the evening you were just watching. But I'm back and I'm headed back in there. The good news is that in the last 4 days, I have 2 daytime pictures of that buck on that scrape at that spruce tree 20 yards from my stand. There's been a couple of smaller bucks hitting there, mostly at night. And he was at that scrape too, or close to it. Looks like he was walking by about, it was the middle of the night there, one night. So it's really early. It's not even 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but I am going to go in there this afternoon. I'm going to get into the stand really early, and I'm going to sit for the rest of the day. Hopefully that deer comes in and is cruising that spot. It's just the pull to that spot for the deer is that we're right off that alfalfa field, about 60-70 yards, and that line of pines where my stand is in, it's just a natural travel route for the bucks, and it's just loaded every November with scrapes through there. Like I said last time, I've hunted in there before. It's been a long time though. Since they logged it out, it just hasn't been the same. But this year seems to be, well, definitely more focus that I'm giving it this year, so maybe that's part of it, but definitely seems to be some good traffic in there. I'm gonna go. Well, we're all set up. When I came in here, I went and freshened up that scrape, but it dug out pretty good. Now it's just a matter of sit back and wait. Got a good 5 hours before dark, so. Hopefully we lay eyes on this guy. Okay. October 28th. I actually debated on whether coming out here today or not. 2 reasons. It's windier than a son of a gun. And I really worry about overhunting a spot like this. But I got a picture of that buck last night. I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't look like he stopped at the scrape, but he went right by it. So, I don't know. The fact that he's here tells me that I'm okay still as far as not pressuring. But it's a night picture, so take that for what it's worth. Well, just got back to the truck here, and pretty uneventful day, except for right at the end. Actually had 5 does come by, one right underneath the tree. The other ones were kind of in behind me, heading out to the field. I didn't expect them to come from that direction. They were kind of downwind, and one was blowing a little bit. And so, not great, but not skunked either. We'll give it another shot tomorrow. October 29th. And I'm going in really early today. It's about 11:45. So the good news is I get a lot of time to hunt today. The bad news is that the buck I'm hunting walked by my cell cam, which is about 30 yards from my tree stand, at 9 o'clock this morning. Walking into the wind like he's supposed to be. And the odds of him coming back that way today, I would say, are pretty slim. But we're gonna give it a go anyways.
So I am sitting there, and darkness is coming pretty quick. I'm starting to lose camera light. I still have some time, and it's about to the point where, even though I got some legal light left, I'm beginning to think this isn't going to happen. I'm not going to get on camera. So I start to think about packing up, and then I hear footsteps coming in from the right. Now, the footage is not great, because what you guys have to remember, once I realize, I might be taking a shot, especially in such a tight spot like this, what I try and do is I try and aim the camera ahead, or where I think that the deer is going to walk, so that I can be focused on just taking the shot. So we'll let it roll from there. So I'm not sure if you heard that, but right before the buck bolts and takes off, you can hear a funny little sound. Believe it or not, that sound is my elbow cracking as I went to draw my bow. So the cameras are is right where I need it to be. I have my bow in front of me like this, and I go to pull back, and this elbow, as it straightened out, it popped and it cracked. And that buck heard that and bolted. Take another listen. So the buck takes off, and at this point, my heart is sunk. This is the last day I have to bow hunt before I have to go back to work. But the buck, as I'm watching, he only runs off about 50, 60 yards, and then he starts to make his way around me. Now again, I'm starting to lose light. I still have legal light left, but the camera light is by the second is getting worse and worse. And because that buck had heard that noise and didn't know what it was, what he was doing is he was working his way around me. He still wanted to hit that trail and go to the field, but he was going to come around downwind of where he heard that noise. And he did it. But I think what happened was he came around that tree, and he was so tight to the tree that my scent carried over top of him, and he did not smell me, and he just ended up working right around me and started heading back towards that main trail.
Smokes. Talk about bringing it down to the wire. I got maybe, I don't know, probably not even 5 minutes left of light. It doesn't look like it on the camera because the camera light runs out faster, but the shot was. Looked like I hit him far back. I want to be excited, but I don't like the way that shot looked. Oh man. That's a deer. I can't believe it. I was getting ready. I was just about ready to start packing up. I haven't seen a deer since 2:30 this afternoon. And he came out, he was heading out to the field. And I went to draw right in front of me here. And my elbow cracked, and he heard that. And he circled all the way around. And he came back. I'm shaking now. I have to give that deer a lot of time. I'm gonna review the footage here.
Well, I am back at home. I wanted to come home and take a good look at that shot on the big screen. I actually took it to Jordan, let Jordan review it. I've sent a clip of it to Crystal, let her review it. The more opinions I can have, the better. But we've been, all three of us have looked at that video now, and we've reviewed the clip. All three of us believe that that's going to be a dead deer. Probably just need to give him some time. The shot is further back than where you'd want it. But the deer is quartering away, not real bad, but he is quartering away. So at the angle, I believe for sure that I got at least part of the liver. We'll have to see, I guess. But I do believe that if we give that deer some time, probably within 6-8 hours, he's gonna be dead. But I'm not going to go back in there tonight. I'm going to give him till tomorrow morning. I just think that's the right thing to do. If we go in there and push that deer, you just the risk of pushing him and never finding him is just too great. So going to give him overnight, and we'll go back in there tomorrow morning. Hopefully we find a dead deer within the first couple 100 yards. All right, so we're back next morning. I got Jordan with me this morning. Happy to have the help and the camera person. So the shot was just back up there. I was waiting for Jordan, so I already came down. I tracked a little bit. There's not a lot of blood to start. Even though the impact was really good, we watched that footage over and over again last night, and there's good penetration, but not a lot of blood on the ground. So we're just gonna keep following his running tracks here, and hopefully we can find him at the end of the trail. See, these are his running tracks here, and there's not. Oh, here's the arrow.
Put that arrow out now, maybe he'll start bleeding more.
I mean, there's blood right up to the fletching. Can you smell?
Not really, I'm stuffed up. But here, see, it's dark blood.
Liver?
You-
Smell like guts?
Not really, a little bit. I think he might have got liver though.
If you got the liver, you gotta be dead.
If you got a liver, like there's some blood here. Not a lot though. Huh?
Here's a bit more here.
Yeah, you definitely got a liver. It's like right here, you almost like fell kind of. What's that? Yeah. Well, it looks like back there he started to fall.
Blood?
He must have jumped right here.
Look at that. First of all, I'm happy, really happy to get a buck like this, with my bow. It's been at least 10 years since I've shot a whitetail with my bow. I've tried a little bit over the last couple of years and haven't really gave it a good shot or a good effort. But this year, so I guess first of all, just the reason I don't bow hunt a whole lot is that I'm always scared of blowing deer out of the area, especially big deer. We have a few farms that we hunt, and we keep the deer there because we don't often go in the early season and push them out. But I got pictures of this guy in the summer, and over the last couple weeks on the cell cam, he's been showing up. I think I got 3 or 4 pictures of him during midday hours, cruising that pine strip or that pine line on the edge of that field. And there's a pile of scrape. We found a bunch more scrapes when we were tracking him here, but so just thought, you know what, I got to give it a shot and go after him. It was worth it, and in the end, it ended up working out. He's a beautiful, beautiful deer. You know, not a deer that's going to score real high, but I think you guys have heard me say this before. I could care less about the score. I mean, look at the character on this buck. Like he's heavy all the way through his antlers here. He's got split brows. Look at that brow here that's split. We got a few bucks this year on camera that have split brows, but you know, stuff around his bases. He's got a kicker here on the side. I mean, kickers up here. He's just a beautiful deer, and to get him with the bow is pretty special. Feel really, really bad that, you know, he's in the shape that he's in. I cannot believe, in all the years that I've hunted, I have never ever had an animal get hit by coyotes this fast, other than an antelope down in southern Alberta. Down there it was hot. Last night it was cold. The last thing that I thought was that coyotes were going to find this thing this fast. So I'm not happy about that. I guess I probably should have came back, but you think that you're doing the right thing by letting them sit. I wasn't sure about the shot. Looking at the blood trail now, we figured liver last night, and it looks exactly like that's what it was. It was dark blood all the way, pretty spotty in some places, but real unfortunate. But I guess that's the way it goes. You know, hindsight's always 20/20. I think if I had to do it all over again, I would have left him again. That's the right thing to do on a deer that you're just not sure about the shot. So unfortunate, but grateful all the same, and still feel pretty blessed to have it work out the way it did. 2023 is in the books. I don't know what I'm going to do in November now, except for go around videoing everybody. So, I get asked a lot about techniques and strategies as far as hunting whitetail. So I want to take, while I don't try and give out all my trade secrets, I want to take a minute or two here just to give everyone a bit of some information just on how I approach whitetail hunting, and particularly in regards to this hunt. So you can see behind me we got this big alfalfa field out here. The alfalfa really grows particularly well right down in here along the top of the hills, but it goes all the way kind of across. So my stand location is back over there. Now the key to this is what I want people to understand. A lot of people will set up on the edge of fields and they'll just watch the field, and that's fine. You can do that, and you can have a lot of success. A lot of people have success doing that. For me, you'll hardly ever see me set up and hunt on the edge of a field, and the reason for that is because there's way more movement in the bush. There just is. Especially when it comes to big bucks. Big bucks will come out in the field early season when they don't feel pressured. They might follow a doe out in the rut. But for the most part, especially in November when you're hunting those whitetails hard, they tend to stay back in the bush. So even though I didn't get my deer this year in November, it's already that pre-rut phase. And what they're doing, if you guys look, now what I have on the edge of this field here, there's a huge, you can kind of see the poplar growth here. That's actually really young growth. But further back, that is a ridge, and it's lined with pine. Now, for a lot of you, I'm sure when you've been out in your travels and you've been hunting whitetails, you've seen scrapes and rub lines
primarily on the edges of pine tree lines. That's just what I've found, at least in my experience. They love to run the edges of pine trees. So what made this hunt successful, I picked a trail where I knew those deer were coming out to the field, but I also was in a spot where those deer, especially the bucks at that time of the year, they're going to be cruising up and down the edges of that field, off the field where they feel they're safe, but still cruising, looking for those first few does or any kind of scent, from other bucks. That's what they do. They travel the edge of those fields. They feel safe back in the woods. Again, it's not a strategy that I use a lot in early season, but it worked this time. Hopefully it can work for you guys if you're looking to bow hunt, especially pre-rut or early rut. That's my advice. Look for those pine ridges off the edges of fields. Scrape lines, rub lines. It can be deadly.